A stranger messaged me with a secret that changed everything. I had finally come to terms with the storm. The online hate, the fake stories, the silence of people I once respected. I thought I had seen the worst. But Allah always has a plan hidden behind every pain. It was a quiet evening. I had just finished praying Maghrib when my phone buzzed. Unknown message request. The name? I didn't recognize it. No profile picture. Just a gray circle. My instinct said to ignore it. But my heart, it felt something. I opened it. As-salamu alaykum. I know what he did. I know more than you do. Please hear me out. My heart dropped. Was this another hater? A trap? Someone pretending to support just to betray? But then more messages came. Detailed. Precise. Painful. This woman, let's call her Zainab, was from another city. Far away. She had been married to him. Yes. Legally married. But that wasn't the shocking part. He married me, she wrote, only because he wanted access to my family's wealth. She told me how he used religious words, pretended to be poor and pious, then slowly drained her emotionally, spiritually, and financially. When I refused to take another loan in my name, he divorced me in anger, and accused me of disobeying Allah. She had no public platform. She had never told anyone. Until now. And she had proof. Screenshots. Audio messages. Even receipts of the money transfers. I sat there, tears flooding my eyes, but not for myself this time. For her, for all of us. This wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. And this man, this so-called caller to Allah, was not just deceiving us. He was using religion as a weapon. Zainab and I spoke for hours over the next few days, sharing our pain, our confusion, our heartbreak, but also our strength. Because now we were no longer victims. We were witnesses. And together we could speak. Together we could warn others. We decided to do it right. No drama. No emotional outburst. Just facts. Just truth. And just before we were about to make our next move, I received one last message from her. I made a dua when he divorced me. I said, Ya Allah, let the one he deceives next be the one who exposes him completely. I never knew that person would be you. Subnal. A dua from a broken heart, answered in full circle. And now, it was time. Time for the world to see the mask fall. Not for revenge. But for protection. For every sister who might have been his next target. Because Allah doesn't sleep. And du'as, they travel further than we ever imagine. Have you ever seen a dua come true in a way that gave you goosebumps? Comment where you're watching from. May Allah protect us from those who wear religion as a disguise. Subscribe and stay with us for part 14, the evidence we collected. Shook the entire online community. We didn't act out of anger. We acted out of clarity. For once I was no longer weeping. I was rising. Zainab and I worked silently for days. We compared notes, voice notes, screenshots, and timelines. It was like pieces of a puzzle we never knew existed. Until we laid them side by side. And what formed before us was a web of deceit. Multiple women. Same lines. Same religious manipulation. Same withdrawal after he got what he wanted. He even recycled his messages. Copied and pasted nikah proposals. Reused his, I had a dream about you being my wife, line. But the worst part? He used the name of Allah, the sunnah of Rasulullah peace be upon him, and the trust of sincere sisters. To feed his ego. And now we had proof. Solid, undeniable proof. Voice messages where he spoke about using marriage to build his platform. Screenshots of him telling one sister, "Don't tell anyone we're married. It's secret for now." Bank transfers from vulnerable women who thought they were investing in his dawah. We compiled everything into one folder. Zainab and I made istikhara. We prayed long and hard, because what we were about to do was going to change things forever. Not to destroy him, but to protect others. We contacted a trusted sister in the community. One who was known for her honesty, her balance, and her protection of others. She reviewed every file, verified every date, every voice message. And she said one thing. The Ummah needs to see this. You are not exposing. You re-protecting. And with her help, it was done. We released a detailed, factual, calm exposé. No names were mentioned, but anyone who had been close to him knew. The shock across the online space was immediate. The sisters who once doubted me began messaging in tears. Others came forward with their own stories. People started connecting the dots. And slowly, his mask crumbled. His public lectures stopped. His accounts went quiet. The followers who once defended him blindly began asking questions. And for the first time, I felt peace. Not revenge. Not victory. Just peace. Because the truth had walked in. And lies, no matter how loud, had fallen silent. I sat on my prayer mat that night. Crying, not out of pain this time, but out of gratitude. Ya Allah. You are Al-Haq. The one who brings truth to light. You heard me when I had no voice. You stood for me when I was shaking. And you brought justice, in the most merciful way. That night, I slept without tears. For the first time in many, many months. But I knew the story wasn't over. Because a storm like this always has an aftershock. And it was coming. Have you ever seen Allah defend you in a way no one else could? Comment your country, and tell me if you've ever been protected in silence. May Allah uncover every injustice with light and mercy. Subscribe and stay tuned for part 15. When he tried to fight back. But Allah closed every door. When the truth came out, we thought he'd go quiet, maybe reflect. Maybe even repent. But instead, he retaliated. He posted a long, dramatic message on his page. Accusing us of fitna. Saying, Shane is using sisters to attack the brothers of knowledge. He quoted ayat out of context. Used pious language to turn the tables. And it worked on some. A few followers began questioning us. Saying, why are you ruining a Muslim man's reputation? Why didn't you correct him privately? You're just bitter he didn't marry you properly. I was silent. Tired. Heartbroken all over again. Not because they believed him. But because this is how women are often silenced. Even in the name of deen. Zainab was firm. She kept reminding me. The lies sound loud now, but truth ages well. Let it breathe. But then, something happened. People began investigating for themselves. His contradictions started showing. He said, I never spoke to her directly. But screenshots showed otherwise. He said, we never had nikah. But audio files exposed him saying, you're my wife in secret. He tried to shut the truth down. But the more he moved, the more Allah exposed. Then came the moment we knew he had lost. One of his own close brothers in Dawah posted something subtle. But loud enough. Accountability is not enmity. Protecting our sisters is not backbiting. May Allah purify our platforms from deception. No name. No finger pointing. But it hit like a storm. And from that point, doors began to close on him. Invitations stopped. His followers decreased. Sponsors and brands distanced themselves quietly. And us. We didn't celebrate. We made dua. Ya Allah. We're not happy he fell. Weary only relieved you lifted the burden from us. And that no other sister will be fooled again. That night, I looked back at my old journal. The one I used to cry into. And I saw a line I had written months ago. Ya Allah, if this pain is a way to protect someone else, let me bear it. I wept. Because I had forgotten I even wrote it. But Allah didn't. And now, that day had returned to me, in the most unexpected form. But the storm wasn't over yet. Because something came to light soon after. He was never who he claimed to be. Not just with us. But even in his public Islamic life. The next revelation would shake even the strongest. Have you ever made a dua and saw it answered after months or years? Write Alhamdulillah, if you believe Allah never forgets a sincere heart. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Part 16 is coming. The secret past he tried to hide was bigger than we thought. We thought the worst was over, but what we didn't know was his deception didn't start with me. It had a history. It began with a message from a sister I didn't know. She had seen the post. And the exposure. Her words came trembling, yet steady. I've been holding this in for 2 years. I was scared. But now that you've spoken up, I feel like I can finally breathe. My heart dropped. Another sister. She told her story. And it was almost identical to mine. Same secret Nika approach. Same emotional manipulation. Same use of Islamic language to bypass responsibility. She had met him at a seminar abroad. He claimed he was looking for a righteous wife. He even convinced her to keep things private for Baraka, but the moment she moved closer to his city, he disappeared. Blocked her. Erased every trace. She was shattered. And too ashamed to speak. I couldn't breathe. How many others? It turned out, 4 sisters came forward in the span of 1 week. All with variations of the same pattern. Not public relationships. Not casual chats. But religiously framed deception. He would use Quran and Hadith to convince. Then blame Shane when things got exposed. It was no longer about heartbreak now. It was about protection. Zainab called an emergency meeting with some trusted scholars. Real men of integrity. They reviewed the evidence. The stories. The patterns. And then, they issued a community warning. Not defamation. Not emotional gossip. But a formal statement that said, it is our responsibility to ensure no Muslim woman is spiritually abused in the name of religion. If you are approached by this individual for marriage, please consult elders and proceed with caution. That was when the backlash turned to support. The same people who once doubted us began sending apologies. Messages of support. Even men admitted, we didn't know it was this deep. And me? I didn't feel victorious. I felt broken. But clean. Like Allah peeled off the layers of confusion. And replaced them with clarity. Ya Allah. You saw everything. And you waited for the perfect time to show the truth. That night, I fell asleep with tears in my eyes. Not of pain. But of relief. But the journey wasn't over. Because after exposure comes healing. And that was a path I didn't know how to walk, until someone unexpected appeared. Someone who knew pain. Who knew betrayal. But also knew how to help others rebuild. Have you or someone you know ever been gaslighted using religion? You're not alone. And healing is possible, inshallah. Subscribe for the next part of the story. She helped me heal. Because she knew the pain too well. I didn't think healing was possible. Not after everything I had seen. Not after feeling used emotionally, spiritually, and publicly. But Allah sends His help, in the most unexpected ways. She was older than me. Maybe in her early 40s. wore a soft blue khimar and carried herself with quiet dignity. Her name was Amira. She reached out after hearing my story from a mutual friend. We met in a quiet masjid library. No phones. No distractions. Just soft Quran playing in the background, and the calm scent of old books and incense. She looked me in the eye and said, "You are not broken. You are not foolish. You are chosen, for a lesson you didn't ask for, but one that will raise you in the sight of Allah, if you're patient." I held back tears. No one had said that to me. Everyone kept telling me I was too naive. Too soft. Too trusting. But she didn't see me as weak. She saw me as a survivor. Then she told me her story. 12 years ago, her religious husband married her without wali approval. Used religious loopholes. Convinced her it was valid. Made her keep silent. She suffered in silence for 8 years, until she nearly lost her iman. But Allah doesn't forget, she whispered. He just waits for the exact moment you're ready to rise. Her words struck something deep in me. That day she didn't just counsel me. She gave me a plan. She helped me. Start journaling my emotions daily. Memorize Surah Ash-Shar, did we not expand your chest? Practice saying, Allah is sufficient for me, every time I remembered the betrayal. Create a healing dua list, for peace, for closure, for righteous companionship. Week by week, I felt myself shedding layers of pain. There were still tears. Still silent nights. Still triggers. But now, I had tools. I had hope. I had Allah. And above all, I had a witness to my journey. One night, as I finished tahajjud, I whispered, "Ya Rab, you are al-Latif. You see what no one else sees. Heal me in ways I can't imagine. And replace me with what is better." I didn't know it then, but a new chapter was already being written. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without breaking. May Allah send us people like Amira in our darkest hours. Subscribe for the next part of the journey, the Rishta proposal that made me tremble. Was this from Allah? Time passed. I had stopped expecting anything from anyone. No proposals. No promises. No distractions. Just healing. Just ibadah. Just me and Allah. But isn't it when you stop chasing that Allah sends you a sign? One afternoon, Amira called me with a tone I'd never heard before. "There's someone," she said gently. "And I think you should meet his family." I froze. A rishta. Now? I wasn't ready. My heart started racing. Memories of the fake nikah, the deception, the humiliation, they all came flooding back. "I'm not healed," I told her. "What if I choose wrong again? What if I break again?" She paused and said something I will never forget. "Maybe this time, you don't have to choose alone. This time, let Allah choose for you." That night, I made istikhara for the first time in a long time. I poured my fear, my worry, and my longing into sujud. Ya Allah, if this is good for my deen, my dunya, and my akhirah, bring it closer to me and bless it. But if it will harm me, push it far away. And make me content with what you decree. The next day they came. An elderly mother with gentle eyes. A sister who wore niqab and brought dates. And him quiet, respectful, reserved. He didn't speak much. But when he did, it was with humility. No charm. No show. No flattery. Just this: I know what it means to be broken. I also know what it means to be rebuilt by Allah. His words struck something deep. I found myself trembling not from fear, but from realization. Could this be Allah's mercy in disguise? Not a fairy tale. Not a love story. But a second chance, guided by Quran, rooted in Sunnah, built on Sabr. Still, I wasn't quick to answer. I asked for time. I begged Allah for clarity. And over the next few nights, I received signs in small, beautiful ways. A random Quran page that opened to. Perhaps you dislike a thing, and Allah places in it much good. Surah An-Nisa. A child in the masjid who looked up at me and said, "Auntie, you look like a princess from Jannah." A dream where I stood beneath a date palm, feeling shade and peace. I cried. Not because I was sure, but because I was no longer scared. I knew now, even if it didn't work out, I would never be alone again. Because Allah was enough. Sometimes the new chapter isn't what you planned, but it's exactly what you needed. Stay with me for part 19, I said yes. But I was still afraid. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me where in the world you're watching from. May Allah send you the rishta that brings you closer to Him. Ameen. I said yes, not because I was completely healed. Not because I had no fears. But because I had tawakkul, trust in Allah. The nikah was simple. No extravagance. No noise. No social media posts. Just a dua-filled ceremony under a white tent, and the name of Allah on everyone's lips. May Allah bless both of you, and shower His blessings upon you, and unite you both in goodness. I was someone's wife now. But more than that, I was someone Allah had saved. Yet that night, I couldn't sleep. The memories still lived in corners of my heart. The fake marriage. The betrayal. The nights I cried alone. He noticed. He didn't say anything, he just brought me warm milk and sat beside me on the prayer mat. You don't have to be perfect for this to work, he said gently. Just honest. Just sincere. Just willing to grow. Subhanallah. This was the real difference. He wasn't here to impress me. He was here to journey with me towards Jannah. In the days that followed, I slowly learned to smile again, to laugh without guilt. To sit with my Quran and not cry from pain, but from gratitude. I finally told him everything. About the fake nikah, the manipulation, the pain, the humiliation. And do you know what he said? He didn't pity me. He didn't shame me. He said, "Wallahi, if Allah allowed your heart to survive that, then what a precious heart I've been gifted with." That was the moment. I knew I was safe. Safe from deception. Safe from desperation. Safe because I was now guarded by dua, not naivety. Stay with me for the final part 20, from betrayal to barakah. My heart finally found peace. Comment with Ya Allah, write the best endings for us all, if you've ever been broken and found healing in Allah. Subscribe and be ready, the final part will melt hearts, inshallah. Sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings are written at the end of your patience. It's been 2 years now. 2 years since I stood trembling in a simple nikah dress, not knowing what lay ahead. But knowing Allah would never let me fall again. Today I sit beside a crib, rocking the most precious gift I've ever received. A daughter. A miracle I never expected. A mercy I never believed I was worthy of again. Her tiny hand wraps around my finger, and I can't help but cry. Not tears of sadness, but deep, healing gratitude, because I remember how it all started. I remember the fake promises. The man who wore a thobe but had no taqwa. The so-called nikah that left me dishonored, shamed, and shattered. I remember begging Allah in sujud, Ya Rab, if there's care in this pain, show me. If not, take it away and replace it with something better. I didn't know that better would come as a man who feared Allah more than he loved me. Who guarded my heart like an amana. Who never forced me to forget the past, but walked with me through its shadows. When I found out I was pregnant, I froze. The old fear came rushing back. What if I'm not ready? What if I'm still too broken to be a mother? But when I told him, he didn't flinch. He held my hands and whispered, "A righteous child is not born from perfection, it is born from dua, sabr, and a home built upon love of Allah." Subhanallah. The pregnancy was smooth. No complications. No health scares. No midnight hospital runs. Allah made it easy, so easy, as if He was saying, "Did I not promise you that with hardship comes ease?" When I went into labor, I wept again. Not from pain, but from remembrance. I remembered my darkest nights, how I felt forgotten. How I thought marriage was over for me. How I thought no one would accept a woman with a past even if it wasn't her fault. But here I was, bringing a soul into the world. Loved. Respected. Honored. Surrounded by dua, not disgrace. When she cried her first cry, I looked at her and said, "Ya Allah, this is not just a baby, this is proof that you heard me. That you saw me. That you never abandoned me, even when I had nothing but sujud left." We named her Maryam, after a woman who also endured pain, loneliness, and slander, but was chosen above all women. Because this girl, like me, was born out of divine mercy. Out of brokenness healed by Allah Himself. Now, every night, as I lay beside her, I tell her stories. Not of princes or palaces, but of patience, prayer, and protection from Allah. I tell her, never let your heart fall for someone who uses Allah's name in vain. Fall for someone who leads you to Allah, not away from Him. And I whisper this dua over her. Ya Allah, let her never beg to be loved. Let her never cry for respect. Let her never be fooled in the name of deen. And when she is tested, let her find you before anyone else. That's the ending, dear sister. Not the fake one I thought would complete me. But this, the real one. Where love came wrapped in patience. Where barakah came after betrayal. Where Allah wrote a story better than anything I could have written for myself. And now, I'm not just healed. I'm grateful for the heartbreak that brought me to sujud. For the man who deceived me, because he unknowingly led me to the true one. For every tear I cried, because they were all seeds of a joy I live in now. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll without saying, Ya Allah, replace my pain with something better than I imagined. Subscribe for more heart-melting stories of faith, pain, and divine mercy. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Your country, your city, we'd love to know. Until the next story, keep your heart close to Allah. He writes the best endings.